This is how my second boat looked after I'd lived on it for a couple of weeks. You can see it's pretty homely and almost very cosy looking, especially with those red lights added to the gunnel, that step in the wall. After I'd lived on it for a year or so, you can see I'd just altered a bit of the furniture positioning and stuff, and it was all still pretty functional and pretty classically what you'd call a homely environment. Lovely stuff. Fast forward to when I'd lived on it for years and years, you can see it's suddenly got a lot less homely, but a lot more functional as far as me and my lifestyle. And something of note here is that you can see I've added a mishmash of storage options just in the little corridor on my right hand side there. And also, that desk at the back is now hinged to the wall so it can fold completely flat and out of the way. Whereas, as you can see previously, when I first moved on, it was just a freestanding desk. So I lost a little bit of storage from the desk drawers there, but I gained the ability to open up all of the living room space to a completely open area. Just to highlight the point completely, this, when I was selling this boat, is how it looked with almost all of the furniture taken out. So of course I just left the one cheap office desk and my humble little folding table in the corner, and this was again after I'd first bought the boat and moved on. So you can see just how cluttered and small the living room felt because there was such little visible floor space to move around in. So why am I randomly talking about furniture and its significance on a canal boat all of a sudden? Well, some of you may have gathered if you've watched my random review videos recently that over the last month or so I've started to really ramp up the purchase of furniture which will fit nicely, hopefully, on my future boat. And although I don't know what that boat will be, the size, the layout, or any of the other many variables when it comes to buying a boat, I do know from my years of boat life experience the sort of stuff that I want, the sizes, and how it will hopefully best fit in around a small space, small area living setup. So, for example, I've got myself a standing desk, but I've deliberately got a narrow one at 1 metre width rather than the usual 120 centimetres that I've had previously. And that means not only will I be able to have a standing desk and with it having a motor in it, be able to have it at any height that I want in its range. So you can be a seated desk, a standing desk, and so on. As somebody who spends a lot of time at a computer, that will do my back the world of good, from my previous experience, it will at least. But choosing one that's deliberately a bit smaller than standard means that it will be far easier when it's in its low position to just pull it around from the wall in front of the seats or the seating area and have it as a simple tabletop that you would use any other tabletop from without having to try and then squeeze in and around it as I'm walking from one end of the boat to the other. That 1 metre width rather than 1 metre 20 centimetre width, well, you wouldn't believe in spaces like this how much of a difference that extra 20% can make. Something else that I've purchased is a 27-inch monitor, which not only can be plugged into a laptop or a computer, but of course, on a boat, and in the context I'm thinking of it, it's going to also completely replace any functionality of a television. Now, 27-inch would be absolutely tiny for a TV these days in a standard living room, but as you can see here, in years gone by on my previous boats, I was literally using things like iPads and laptops. And this, in this case, this is an iPad Pro. And I don't know, was that about a 12-inch screen size? Something in that region. And that was literally all I had to watch any sort of online streaming content on. And so wherever I was in the boat, and very often I'd be making my pasta in the kitchen at the counter just there, with the iPad as this tiny little screen on the desktop, watching, I don't know, The American Office endlessly because there seems to be an infinite amount of episodes of that. But although it was functional and it was fine, really, of course, it's not ideal. And I'm trying to think of things, whereas this boat layout you're seeing in front of you now with the office chairs and everything, that's very much a me living on my own and not having many visitors sort of setup. Whereas even with that really low quality small sofa that you're seeing there, it was obviously, like I say, that much more homely, inviting, friendly environment to have as the heart and hub of the boat. One of the things that will be a difficulty with a 27-inch monitor will actually be choosing where to place it. So rather than using it on a stand or fixing it solidly in one place, I already own a desktop monitor arm which allows me to mount the monitor to it, clamp it to a desk, or probably in the case of the boat, a shelf, and then it has quite a wide range of motion where you can move the monitor maybe 50 centimeters to a meter in any direction, rotate it in any orientation, and of course, angle it wherever it needs to go. I've also recently bought a chest of drawers with a couple of shelves built into the top of them too, for extra storage in an environment like this. Very specifically thinking about this type of setup for a boat, where in my bedroom you can see it opened up into the front of the boat with these double doors, which although it's a narrow space, is still quite a lot of wall space when they were closed. But I could never use this for much storage because there's that wardrobe built in right on the right hand side of them, which of course, if I put too many shelves or any sort of storage there, meant I couldn't open one of the wardrobe doors, which wasn't ideal. So what I'm thinking in future is that what I did with this boat in the end was literally lock those doors shut and screw nails in to hold them nice and tightly shut. And what I couldn't do, like I say, because of the wardrobe, was use that wall space for anything. But in future, I'll also keep the doors closed at the front of the boat, if it is this reverse layout with the bed at the front of the boat here. And I will just put a chest of drawers in front and just attach them to the wall slightly so that they're nice and secure. Now, one of the things that I will say is that this boat was great with having that built-in wardrobe storage, because obviously it went straight back to the wall, and with the walls being curved and bent and angled as they are on a boat very often, it meant that you got more storage in that space. Whereas if you put a standing wardrobe against the wall in a boat like this, you're obviously going to have a few centimeters and inches wasted space at the back of it, as obviously the wardrobe can't contour to the shape of the walls. So that's just a slight thing to say in favour of built-in fittings and features on a boat. But as you've seen just from the start of this video, even just the clips that I've got of my various layouts, all of the furniture I had on the boat eventually got moved, replaced, slightly dismantled and rebuilt and all the rest of it. So I'm definitely a fan, as I am on land life, of having just freestanding items and chest of drawers and things like that you can move around rather than physically attaching stuff to the walls. So yeah, there's just a few thoughts on the importance of correctly furnishing a boat and why it might differ to furnishing a house. And as you can probably tell, whatever I say in this video and whatever happens in the first 6 months of me being on my next boat will almost certainly be completely undone. I won't learn my lessons, and I'll have about 10 different layouts by the time that I have lived on a boat for 5 years again. Anyway, please check the links in the description. I write boat life books, I post loads of boaty pictures and videos all over the internet. Until the next time, keep it interesting, keep it boat worthy, have a fantastic day, and of course, farewell.